Picture this moment with me. It is January 2017 at the Sundance Film Festival in Park City, Utah, and a quiet romantic film called Call Me By Your Name is about to change one young actor's life. Timothée Chalamet is only 21 years old, and even if some people in the industry already know his face from a TV series like Homeland back in 2012, this is different. Sundance is the kind of place where careers can turn in a single weekend. Within that same year, the film will grow into an awards season phenomenon, and by early 2018, Timothée will be standing in the Oscar conversation as a Best Actor nominee at age 22, one of the youngest in the category's history. And when I think about that, I always wonder, how does a person go from being a kid in New York City with a big dream to carrying a whole film with that kind of emotional weight in front of the entire world before they even turn 23? Stay with me today, because his story is not just about talent. It is about timing, discipline, identity, and learning how to stay soft as a person while the world gets loud around you. And as you listen, if you enjoy this kind of story-based English practice, I would love if you could subscribe, like, and leave a comment about what you think of Timothée Chalamet. Or if you have ever had a moment where something you worked on quietly suddenly became visible to everyone. Timothée Chalamet was born on December 27, 1995, in New York City. And that detail matters because New York has a special energy. It is fast, creative, competitive, and full of people chasing something. He grew up in Manhattan, and he has talked about being raised with both American and French cultural influence. Even his last name carries that feeling. His dad, Marc Chalamet, is French, and his mom, Nicole Flender, is American. Timothée also has an older sister, Pauline Chalamet, who became an actress too. When you grow up around art and performance, it can feel normal to imagine yourself on a stage, but it can also create pressure because you start comparing yourself early. And one thing I notice about Timothée's journey is that he did not suddenly become himself at 21. You can see that he was collecting skills, experiences, and confidence for years before the big moment arrived. As a kid in New York, he was surrounded by so many different kinds of people, accents, styles, and personalities, and that kind of environment can make you very observant. That is a useful trait for an actor, because acting is not only about being loud or dramatic. It is about noticing tiny human details, like the way someone looks away when they feel embarrassed, or the way they pause when they are trying not to cry. In everyday English, we sometimes say someone is soaking it all in. Soaking it all in means you are quietly absorbing everything around you, learning without even realizing it. And when you watch Timothée's performances later, you can almost feel that he has been soaking it all in since he was a kid. He went to school in New York City, and one important place in his story is Fiorello H. LaGuardia High School of Music and Art and Performing Arts, often just called LaGuardia. This school is famous, and it has a strong performing arts culture. Being there can push you because you are surrounded by other students who are also ambitious and talented. That is the kind of environment where you learn very quickly that you have to work, not just dream. And I want you to notice the English word work here. In stories like this, work is not only a job. Work is practice. Work is repetition. Work is showing up when nobody is clapping for you yet. Timothée started acting professionally when he was still young, and one early credit people often mention is his appearance on Law & Order in 2009. If you know that show, you know it is a New York classic, and for a young actor, getting a role on a major series like that can feel like proof that the path is real. Then, in 2012, he appeared in the medical comedy drama Royal Pains, and in that same year, he had a notable role on Homeland, the acclaimed series that was a big deal in the early 2010s. On Homeland, he played Finn Walden, and that role put him in front of a wider audience. The interesting part is that this kind of early attention can be both a gift and a trap. It is a gift because people notice you. It is a trap because you can start thinking the goal is to be noticed, instead of the goal being to become truly good. Timothy kept moving like someone who wanted depth, not just visibility. After high school, he attended Columbia University for a time and later studied at New York University's Gallatin School of Individualized Study. That academic path matters because it shows he was not only chasing auditions, he was still building a wider life, a wider mind, and that helps an actor because you need something to draw from. In English, there is a phrase to have something to fall back on. To fall back on means you have another support if your main plan does not work. But in Timothee's case, it feels less like a backup plan and more like he was trying to stay grounded while also taking risks. In the mid-2010s, he started appearing in films that slowly built his credibility. In 2014, he had a role in Men, Women, and Children, a film directed by Jason Reitman. And also in 2014, he appeared in Christopher Nolan's Interstellar, playing the younger version of Tom, the character played by Casey Affleck as an adult. Interstellar was a major studio film with a big global audience, and even though his role was not the main focus, being part of a project like that puts you near a certain level of filmmaking, a certain standard. You see what big sets look like, you see how directors work, you see how time is managed. And that is education too, just not in a classroom. Then there is a project from 2016 that matters a lot in his development, even if it is not always the first title people mention today. The film is Miss Stevens, and it premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival in 2016. Toronto is a major festival, and being in that environment is a signal that you are entering a more serious space as an actor. Around this time, Timothée was building a reputation for being emotionally present on screen. Not flashy, not forcing it, but present. That is a beautiful word for language learners. Present. Present means you are fully there, not distracted, not performing a fake version of yourself, and audiences can feel that kind of presence even if they cannot explain it. Now we arrive at the pivotal moment, the one fans recognize immediately. Call Me by Your Name. The film premiered at Sundance in January 2017, and it was directed by Luca Guadagnino. It is set in Italy, and the story is quiet, intimate, and deeply emotional. Timothée plays Elio, a teenage boy experiencing a life-changing summer. The film also stars Armie Hammer, and the chemistry and emotional realism in the performances became a major part of why the film resonated. The movie's success was not only about being romantic, it was about being specific. The setting, the time, the feeling of heat, music, language, and longing. And Timothée's performance was the kind that makes people stop and think about their own memories. Not just what happened to them, but how it felt. By the time awards season arrived, his name was everywhere, and here is one hard, verifiable milestone that tells you just how powerful that year was for him. In 2018, at age 22, Timothée Chalamet received an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor for Call Me by Your Name. That is not a small thing. That is one of the biggest stages in film. And he also won the Independent Spirit Award for Best Male Lead for the same role. When someone wins a major award and gets an Oscar nomination so young, the world starts projecting a future onto them. Everyone begins saying what they will be, what they should do next, what kind of star they are supposed to become. And that is where the real personal challenge begins, because you have to keep your identity steady while other people try to write it for you. There is an English expression that fits this moment perfectly. People say someone is suddenly in the spotlight. In the spotlight means everyone is paying attention to you, like a bright stage light is following you. And what I love about Timothée's story is that he kept choosing roles that were not only designed to keep him popular, he chose roles that would stretch him. Because 2017 was not just Call Me by Your Name. In 2017, he also appeared in Lady Bird, directed by Greta Gerwig. Lady Bird premiered at Telluride Film Festival in 2017 and became one of the most celebrated films of that year. Timothée played Kyle, and the role was smaller, but very memorable. The character is the type of young guy who wants to seem deep and cool, but is also immature and self-centered. And Timothée made him feel real, not like a cartoon. That matters. When an actor can make even an unlikable character feel human, it shows control. It shows intelligence. Also in 2017, he appeared in Hostels, a film directed by Scott Cooper, starring Christian Bale and Rosamund Pike. Hostels is a very different kind of movie, darker and more intense. So in 1 year, Timothée was moving between a delicate romantic drama, a sharp coming-of-age film, and a serious historical drama. That kind of range is not normal for someone so early in their career. It is a sign that he was not trying to stay in one safe box. Then, in 2018, another signature project arrived, Beautiful Boy, directed by Felix van Groningen. Timothée starred alongside Steve Carell. The film focuses on addiction and the effect it has on a family, and Timothée's performance required vulnerability and rawness. This is one of those roles where an actor has to be brave, because you are asking the audience to look at pain without looking away. When Beautiful Boy came out in 2018, it continued the pattern of him choosing emotional complexity instead of easy wins. And if you are learning English, I want you to notice the phrase easy wins. Easy wins are successes that do not cost much effort or risk. Timothée's path does not look like easy wins. It looks like intentional risk. By 2019, he continued building a filmography that mixed prestige with wide audience appeal. In 2019, he starred in The King, a Netflix film directed by David Michaud, where he played King Henry V. This role is interesting because it asks a young actor to carry leadership, authority, and historical weight. When you are known for playing sensitive, youthful characters, stepping into a royal role is a way of saying, "Do not reduce me to one thing." And that is a lesson I love for anyone learning a language too. Do not reduce yourself to one level. Even if you feel like you are a beginner today, you can still speak with personality, with warmth, with intention. You are not only your mistakes. Also in 2019, he played Laurie in Little Women, directed by Greta Gerwig, based on the classic novel by Louisa May Alcott. Little Women had an ensemble cast, including Saoirse Ronan, Florence Pugh, Emma Watson, and Laura Dern. The film was released in 2019 and became a major cultural moment, with award nominations and strong audience love. Timothée's Laurie was charming, restless, and emotionally open. Many fans connected with his version of the character because it felt modern without breaking the historical world. And working again with Saoirse Ronan and Greta Gerwig also shows something about his career. He builds creative relationships. That matters. In any industry, people do not only hire talent, they hire someone they trust to do good work with others. Now we move into the early 2020s, where Timothée shifts into another level of visibility with a major franchise. Dune. The film, Dune, directed by Denis Villeneuve, was released in 2021. It is based on the novel by Frank Herbert, and it is a massive science fiction story with big world building. Timothée plays Paul Atreides, a young man pulled into destiny, power, and survival. Dune is a different kind of pressure because it is not just about acting in close-up scenes. It is about carrying a huge production with a global audience and intense fan expectations. The cast included actors like Rebecca Ferguson, Oscar Isaac, Josh Brolin, Zendaya, Javier Bardem, and Stellan Skarsgård, and the film became one of the defining big releases of that year. When you go from intimate, indie-style emotional work to leading a giant sci-fi film, people start calling you a movie star, not just a talented actor. And here is the human part. Being called a star can sound glamorous, but it can also feel lonely. Suddenly, you are not just a person making art, you are a brand in some people's eyes. Your clothes, your hair, your relationships, your facial expressions at events, everything becomes content. In English, we sometimes say, "It comes with the territory." It comes with the territory means it is a natural part of the situation, even if you do not love it. Fame comes with the territory when you lead films like Dune. But what matters is how you handle it, and Timothée's public image has often felt surprisingly gentle for someone under that much attention. In 2021, he also appeared in The French Dispatch, directed by Wes Anderson, a very stylized film with an ensemble cast, and in Don't Look Up, directed by Adam McKay, a satirical film that became widely watched. These projects kept him visible and showed he could move between different tones, from Anderson's detailed artistic style to a big modern satire with huge names. By this point, his career is not just one kind of audience. He is reaching film festival fans, indie drama lovers, and blockbuster audiences. In 2022, he starred in Bones and All, directed by Luca Guadagnino, reuniting with the director of Call Me by Your Name. Bones and All premiered at the Venice Film Festival in 2022. Venice is one of the world's most prestigious festivals, and returning there with the same director years later is like a full-circle moment. It suggests loyalty and creative curiosity. It also shows he did not run away from the kind of strange, challenging projects that are not designed to please everyone. That is a courageous artistic choice, and courage is not only being fearless. Courage is doing it even when you feel fear. Then, in late 2023, another huge signature moment arrived, Wonka, released in 2023, where Timothée plays a young Willy Wonka. This was a major studio film, colorful, musical, and aimed at a broad audience. And if you think about it, it is one of the biggest pivots in his public image. From quiet, realistic drama to a whimsical, high-energy character that carries a famous name. That is a risk, because people have strong opinions about iconic characters. And still, taking that role shows he is willing to surprise people. In everyday English, you might say he is switching it up. Switching it up means changing your style or approach to keep things fresh and to challenge yourself. Around this time, his career also starts to look like a balance between serious, intimate work and big mainstream entertainment, and that is a smart long-term strategy for an actor who wants both respect and longevity. It gives him options. It keeps him from being trapped, and I think that is something we all want in life, in our own way. Options, a sense of freedom. Now let's talk a little about what makes Timothée Chalamet feel so watchable, because it is not only his resume, it is something about his emotional honesty on screen. When he plays a character, he often lets silence do part of the work. He does not rush. And that is a skill. Silence takes confidence. In English conversations, too, silence can be powerful. You do not always have to fill every second. Sometimes a calm pause makes your words feel more meaningful. So, if you are learning English and you sometimes panic when you cannot think of a word, I want you to remember this. You can pause. You can breathe, you can stay present, you can still be yourself while you search for the next sentence. Another interesting part of his story is how much of his identity is connected to place. New York City shaped him, and his connection to French culture adds another layer. When someone has a cross-cultural background, they often learn early that there are multiple ways to be a person, multiple ways to express emotions, multiple ways to tell the truth. That can make an actor more flexible, but it can also make you feel like you do not fully belong to just one category. And if you have ever felt that way, maybe because you are living in another country, or speaking another language, or changing careers, his story can feel relatable. You can be in between, you can be becoming. And if we look back at the timeline, it is kind of stunning. In 2012, he is on Homeland. In 2014, he is in Interstellar. In 2017, he breaks through with Call Me by Your Name and appears in Lady Bird. In 2018, he is an Oscar-nominated lead actor at 22 and wins the Independent Spirit Award for Best Male Lead. In 2019, he leads The King and stars in Little Women. In 2021, he leads Dune. In 2023, he leads Wonka. That is a decade-long climb that looks fast on paper, but it is still built on years of showing up. There is a phrase in English, paying your dues. paying your dues means doing the hard work for a long time before you get a big reward. Even though Timothée became extremely famous young, he still paid his dues in his own way, through auditions, small roles, learning on sets, taking acting classes, and stepping into uncomfortable projects that demanded emotional maturity. Now, I want to bring you back to that early Oscar moment again, not because awards are everything, but because they create a psychological turning point. When you get nominated for an Academy Award in your early 20s, you can easily start living for approval. You can start thinking, I have to top this, I have to stay at this level, I cannot mess up. And that mindset can destroy creativity. Creativity needs play, it needs curiosity, it needs mistakes. So what I admire is how he kept choosing variety. Some films were huge, some were risky, some were strange, some were sweet. That variety is how you protect your love for the craft. And this is where I want to gently connect it to you and your English journey. When you learn English, it is tempting to only do what makes you feel safe, like only reading simple texts or only repeating memorized phrases. But growth comes when you try variety. Watch a film, listen to an interview, read a short article, tell a friend about your day. You do not have to do it perfectly. You just have to keep switching it up, the same way Timothée switched it up with his roles. Variety builds confidence because it builds flexibility. Something else that stands out about Timothée is how audiences often describe him as both intense and gentle. That combination is rare. Intense means he is fully committed, emotionally deep, serious about the work. Gentle means he still feels human, soft, not hardened by the machine of fame. And staying gentle is not weakness, it is strength, especially when the world is demanding more and more from you. If you take one emotional lesson from his story, I hope it is this. You can be ambitious without becoming cold. You can aim high without losing your tenderness. In the mid-2020s, his career continues to expand, and one highly anticipated project is his portrayal of Bob Dylan in the biographical film A Complete Unknown, directed by James Mangold, with a release date set for 2024. Bob Dylan is an icon with a very specific voice, presence, and cultural weight, and playing him is not just acting. It is stepping into a living mythology. Projects like that show Timothée is still chasing challenge, still chasing transformation. And transformation is the heart of acting, and honestly, it is also the heart of language learning. You are transforming, little by little, into a version of yourself that can think, feel, and connect in another language. When you listen to stories like this, I want you to notice how your brain starts picking up patterns naturally. You hear the years, you hear the places, you hear the cause and effect. He did this, then this happened, then he chose that. That is exactly how you want to train your English, not by memorizing random words, but by living inside a story where vocabulary has meaning and emotion attached to it. So when you think about Timothée Chalamet now, try to see the full picture. A kid born in New York City on December 27, 1995, growing up with a mix of cultures, studying and acting, taking small roles, then slowly building momentum. A TV role like Homeland in 2012 that makes more people notice him. A major film set experience like Interstellar in 2014 that teaches him what big filmmaking looks like. A festival moment at Toronto in 2016 with Miss Stevens that points toward deeper work. Then the eruption of 2017 with Sundance and Call Me By Your Name, and also Lady Bird and Hostiles, all in the same year. Then 2018 with an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor at age 22 and an Independent Spirit Award win for Best Male Lead. Then 2019 with The King and Little Women. Then 2021, where Dune makes him a global leading man. Then Venice again in 2022, with Bones and All. Then 2023 with Wonka, proving he can carry a bright mainstream film too. That is not luck. That is a path. And I also want to be honest about something. Even when a path is real and impressive, it does not mean the person never struggles. We do not see everything behind the scenes. We do not see the exhaustion, the fear of making the wrong choice, the pressure to stay relevant, the strange feeling of being recognized by strangers. But we can still learn from the visible part of the journey. We can learn that he kept moving forward without rushing his emotional growth. He kept choosing projects that asked something from him. He kept paying attention to craft. And he kept showing up. So, if you are listening today while walking, driving, cleaning, cooking, or just resting, I want you to take a breath and let his story land in a personal way. Where are you in your own timeline right now? Are you in the early stage, doing small things that feel invisible? Are you in the middle stage, where people are starting to notice you and you are trying not to panic? Are you in a stage where you need to switch it up because your routine is making you bored? Wherever you are, you can keep going. You can stay gentle, you can stay curious, you can soak it all in. And step by step, you will build something real. And one last little English phrase to carry with you today, connected to Timothee's rise after 2017. People often say, it was a turning point. A turning point is a moment that changes everything after it. Sundance in January 2017 was a turning point for him. But remember, turning points usually only work because of everything that came before them. So if you have not reached your turning point yet, it does not mean nothing is happening. It might mean you are still building the foundation. Keep building it. Keep showing up. Keep going.